up, everybody? Welcome back to From Prison to Purpose. My name's Jimmy McGill. I'm the host of the show. Got a super awesome guest today. He's actually one of my guys at Next Step Recovery Residence. So this is one of those interviews that are pretty personal for me because I love Carlos. He's a great guy. He's working hard. And so today's guest is Carlos Inocencio. And Carlos spent 15 years in the streets in addiction. He went to prison in Arkansas 5 different times. And now Carlos has a year clean and sober, a great job. He's in a leadership position at his recovery center. And just looks like you're kicking butt in life for the first time. What's going on, Carlos?
Not much, man. I mean, really, everything's going on, you know?
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot going on. But I feel like that's what I need to be able to keep my mind out of, the dump or wherever place that, I like to stop and press replay on. But, man, life is great.
Life is great. Where are you from?
I'm originally from a place called Racine, Wisconsin, up north, about 700 miles away. I was born and raised up there, and I moved down here in 2004.
How were you when you moved here?
That was a tough one when I moved to, but I was 13. About to turn 14 in May.
Right. Yeah, so your trouble actually started shortly after that, or it started before you left?
It started before I left, actually. So we moved down here. Like one time we took a family vacation.
Okay.
To the Grand Canyon, and my mom has some family down here in Arkansas in Cabot. So on the way to the Grand Canyon, we stopped in Arkansas and then shot out to the Grand Canyon. But while we were here in Arkansas, my parents loved it, and of course they were tired of the cold. So
yeah,
me and my oldest brother Reyes, but, we were heathens up there. I mean, I swear I didn't go to school. I think they called home and said that I missed over 180 days of school because my mom would just drop me off.
It's like the whole school year.
Yeah.
That's like almost the whole school year.
But up there, it's not like down here because up there, they don't notify. I mean, there's really no genuine like, hey, I want to be here to teach or to, accountability for these kids or anything like that. It was crazy. Like even the fact that when we moved down here, each and every one of us all failed grades. I mean, they weren't teaching anything. There was just, so that was 180 days. They kind of just let slip by until like the 180th day. And then they wanted to notify somebody. But my oldest brother, he was in juvenile detention. And I don't know, I had the bright idea one day with my best friend Justin to sabotage a tractor while I was young, and we caught some felonies for that. So, and a couple other things that was going on with my family, because I grew up with my family. I really didn't. I had one friend, but in a Mexican family, that's who your friends are. Is your family. So there was a bunch of stuff that was going on up there, and my parents decided one day to say, hey, let's just go ahead and restart and
try the geographic change.
Start over everything. And that's how we ended up here in Cabot, Arkansas.
Okay. So what was life like growing up in Cabot?
Oh, man, it sucked at first.
Yeah.
That changed. I think that's a big part of my trauma today that I still deal with, the acceptance, the people pleasing, because when I moved down here, when I lived up north, it was a completely different breed, completely different culture. The city that I was raised in, Racine, had a population, I think, of 180,000. So I really never left the city. That's all I grew up with. And I was influenced by different cultures, African-American or anything like that. I was hood, like I wanted to be. Yeah. I came down and I wore tall tees and baggy sweatpants and Air Force Ones, and people in Cabot looked at me crazy.
Yeah.
So as soon as I showed up, I was an outcast. I was an outcast for the longest. And plus I was 13, just become a teenager, and I thought I had the love of my life up there still. So, I was trauma. The culture shock was big, but it was hard to fit in. Like when I first got here, I just wanted to go back to Wisconsin. But then when I realized that, we're here for good, I just wanted to be accepted. I just wanted, of course, there was like preps, emo people, the country boys, and this was all new to me. It was just one thing up there.
Factions of people, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so the big country boys always picked on me, and I would always tell them my big brother would come, serve them.
Yeah.
But that never
happened.
That never happened. So I just wanted to be accepted, man. I just wanted to fit in somewhere, you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, missing everything up north, my family, everybody and everything I ever moved away from. So it was kind of tough conforming at first, but you know, through that I was able to accept myself and, you know, gain at the same time a mixture of different swags. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was tough at first. It's a lot different. I just, you know, they got that Greystone community outside. So it's a bunch of people that had money and kids that had money. And I just wanted to be like them, you know? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But you weren't.
No, not at all.
So when did the drug use start?
The drug use, let's see, it started in Wisconsin, but it was just cigarette. Actually, yeah, just cigarettes in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it usually always starts with a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. When I moved down here, there was a buddy that I lived across the street from. He was actually he became my best friend. It was crazy because like when we first got to Cabot, we pulled up at a Dollar General and my uncle was like, go ask for directions. I was like, all right, I'll go in there and ask her, hey, we're 608 South Grant, you know, and she goes, well, you take a left here, you take a right here, and you go to the left, and you go. I came back outside. I said, I don't know what the hell she just said. I said, you're going in the next place to ask for directions. So we pulled up at a Phillips 66, and we were arguing back and forth on who was going to go ask. I said, I'm not going in there. Well, we seen a kid, and it was raining outside, and he was riding his bike. And my uncle was like, hey, do you know where, you know, such and such is? And he's like, yeah, man, it's right across the street from me. And we followed him down on the bike, and he showed us where the house was at. And from that moment on, he was like my best friend. But he's kind of the guy who introduced me to doing what I did. You know, every night I was over there smoking weed, bonfires, and all that. You know.
So was weed the first drug you used?
Yes.
Or was alcohol?
Definitely weed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how'd that initial situation come about? Like, what did it look like the first time you smoked?
It looked like. Let's see.
I mean, did somebody just whip it out and say, here, try this? Or, I mean, what was it?
No, I was sitting in a room. You know, he would always have friends over, and I was younger. Mm-hmm. He was older. He's about 4 or 5 years older than me. All the guys were always older, and I was just sitting, and either if they would go and smoke and stuff like that, they would tell me to go out the room. But one day I was just sitting in there, and it was going in rotation, and I just, you know,
hit it.
Like, yeah, let me hop in that rotation with y'all.
What did it make you feel like?
I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. I felt like I was going to fall all the way through my chair. I was having panic attacks, you know, but then when that subsided, I was like, okay, this is kind of nice. Let's get
so wild, isn't it? Like the first time we hit the weed, like your lungs are burning, you're coughing, you're choking, you know, your chest is on fire. Whatever just happened was not good for you physically.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to hit it again when it comes back around. That's like, we're in a rush to kill ourselves, man. That's
eventually
so
you develop
wild.
That, you know, if you don't get a cough, then you're not getting high. You know?
Yeah. You don't cough, you don't get off. Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So what's the next evolution of Carlos's drug use?
The next evolution would be was alcohol. I went to alcohol because we were always having parties, you know, at the rich neighborhood, Greystone. Went from alcohol. Well, I mean, it pretty much stayed at that for a little while until I was about 18. And then that's when the opiates really hit the scene. Like I had tried hydrocodones or like Percocets. I know one time my cousin came down from Wisconsin and he told me one time, he said, man, you know, this is after, you know, while I was in my addiction. He was like, man, I remember one time I offered you a Percocet and you told me, I don't know what no damn Percocet is. You never wanted to take it. But yeah, it was definitely the pain pills. I had tried them. Like I didn't like them at first, but then I got with this girl and she was doing it and everybody else was doing it in school too. So you know, we kind of casually did that,
and that became your substance of choice. Mm-hmm. Opiates, Oxycontin, what?
Well, the Oxycontins had turned into OPs by that time.
Manos?
Yeah. Well, no, they're like gel type, so you couldn't snort them, and I was a snorter to begin with. And so we did the Roxys, the Roxy 30s. We could get those easily. I mean, anybody's mom really pretty much had them,
Yeah.
But yeah, we did that after the partying and all that stuff, and everybody would just link up and,
So crazy that it was so easy to get Roxy 30s, like Arkansas was literally, still is the second number 2 in the nation for overprescribing pain pills. And it's just nuts how easily the doctors would write a script.
Yeah. I mean, there's been countless of times where I've just literally been in a house and checked the medicine cabinet. It's like, hell.
There it is.
There it is.
That's mine.
Yeah.
I came here for you, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as your drug use and your addiction starts to develop and get progressive, like, is your family freaking out on you? What's going on at the home front?
Not really in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because, mom and dad always worked and there's, 5 of us. So to focus in on me as an individual, no, they weren't freaking out or anything like that. And like how I grew up, my dad kind of knew like that I smoked weed and stuff. But I mean, if he did confront me, he knew that it was going to happen anyway. So he never confronted me about it, And then usually like at 18, that's when we kind of sit down and have a talk about everything that's, going on. Hey, I smoke weed, or I smoke a cigarette in front of him or something like that. But, in the beginning, no. And still, he doesn't, I mean, yeah, he does freak out, but it's just because of the consequences that I bring about myself and what it does to the family.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really comprehend how the addiction is, I've tried to explain to him on numerous occasions. And then mom, she's always just like, hey, just listen to your dad. Whatever dad says. I mean, anything that I go to mom about, she just goes to dad. And of course, all the rest of my family lives up north. So it's, just me, my dad, and my siblings down here.
Yeah. So what was your behavior like as you were using? Like, how were you getting, other than checking the medicine cabinet, how did you as a young man afford your drug habit? How did you get your pills?
To start out with, I sold weed. I had met a really good plug on, it's what it's called, Fifth Wheel back then.
Yeah. Fifth.
Fifth. Yeah. It was a dude that actually, the only dude that ended up going fed sober selling weed out of Little Rock. But I would come back home. I was still in high school, and I would just pull up, and as soon as I pull up, I would literally have a line of people outside of my car, and I would sell, and I'd go re-up, and I'd come back with probably about $2,000 and, ball out and get the Roxys then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was working. I started at like McDonald's was my first job. Then I started working at Knight's Grocery, but that was just kind of really just to, I don't know, just to,
Say you had a job?
Say I had a job.
Yeah. So when did the trouble with the law start?
That started quick. When I was 18, I had gotten to a really bad wreck. We had a party one night, and at the end of the night, everybody had left. Everybody dissipated, and then I was still up, and I found another guy, and he was still up, and he was on Xanax. He was just, he wasn't there, he just wasn't there. And we had the bright idea to go hit some licks. And when we did that, we just kind of went to the next neighborhood over, went car hopping, and we hit about 32 cars, I think it said in the police report. And we did hit about 3 houses.
Oh, wow.
But, the whole time, all night, we were doing this. We were taking the stuff back to the house.
Yeah.
Putting it in the kitchen at the house where we were at. And we got a bunch of crap, nothing out of the houses. And eventually somebody had called the cops on us. And like, this cop is going around the neighborhood, and we're just skipping over to the next street as the cop's trying to come to the next street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we're still stealing. But I had a bank money bag on the last car that I had got into, and we were like, all right, we'll just call it quits. And it was like $3,200 cash.
That's a lick.
And so
a lot of money for a car robbery.
I seen the money bag in the window. It was like, hey, money bag, boom. All right, we'll just call it quits at that. And it was like I think first security. It was somebody, there was checks in there and everything. I guess they forgot to make a deposit or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So I grabbed that. We go back to the house. We got all this crap in the kitchen, And my best friend, what we were trying to do? I think we were just trying to go get some weed at that point. And I told him, I was like, hey, my best friend's got some weed. We called him up, but we need a ride.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that was in another room having sex with this chick. Like, I banged on the door. It's like, hey, bro, I'll give you $50 to use your truck. So he let us use his truck. And it was a standard, and, we were messed up. So when I took off, I was grinding the gears. And he's like, hey, man, you don't know how to drive. Let me drive. I'm like, bro, you're barred out right now.
Yeah.
I was like, I can drive this thing. So I decided to show off a little bit and get up to about 95 miles an hour on a 35 mile an hour speed limit road. Went through a three-way, and when I did, I looked to the left, and I guess I had counter steered with my hand. And when I did that, by the time I looked back in a split second, I was in the ditch hitting culverts, the cement culverts that drain the ditches under the driveways. Yeah, I hit about 6 of them at 95 miles an hour, and it shot me out like a ramp. And we did a 180, never even touched the road. We were airborne and smashed into a tree.
Lucky you didn't die.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a scratch on me.
God.
It shot me to the back passenger seat. Mm-hmm. And when I got out, the truck looked like a Coke can. I mean, it was completely, but in the midst of everything, I was freaking out. And the buddy that was with me, I didn't hear a word from him. I was screaming. I'm like, hey, man, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, And there was nothing. So when I looked in there, he was just kind of like, it hit so hard that the roof caved down and was holding his head up. He was unconscious, and it was holding his head up, and I thought I had killed him at that point. And I can hear sirens because there was a guy, I guess right after it happened. I was freaking out. He said he had called the ambulance and everything. I'm like, mm-hmm. All right, But I had all that money on me, and I had stashed it in the ditch where we were at, and put it underneath some leaves. And I went back to go try to help my buddy. And, my plan was to just kind of fireman carry him back to the house, because we weren't even 2 blocks away. This all happened in a short distance. It was to fireman carry him back to the house and just tell dude, hey, we crashed your truck, but just go ahead and report it stolen. So, make it look like someone stole your truck, and you be able to get something out of it, I guess. But I feel like God had intervened in the situation that was at hand, because I tried to get him out. And, I played football. I was in really, really good shape at that time. And like I tried to get him out. So I scooped him up under his arms and pulled him out the truck. And every ounce of energy was just drained out of me. And I was trying to figure out why I couldn't, do what I was doing, or be able to, figure out carry him and, go out with my plan. So I was so exhausted. I just get him on the ground, and I'm just laying with him in his head. He's bleeding out. And I'm just kind of sitting there crying, watching the lights pull up. And the guy's like, is he okay? I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I just want to make sure that he's okay. I don't want him to die,
Yeah.
And the police.
You're 18 at this time?
18 years old. Matter of fact, when we hit the tree, if there were shoes in the floorboard, and it's just kind of give you an idea how hard we hit, there were shoes in the floorboard that were ejected like 75 feet from the truck.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. But I just wanted, and while the ambulance was pulling up, he kind of just wakes up and he's like, what happened? And I was, that sense of relief came to me. I was like, oh my God, you're awake, dude. We've been in a crash. We're doing, this is what happened, So they pulled up, took me to jail, of course.
What did they charge you with?
At that moment, they only charged me with reckless driving and driving under the influence.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know what was going on. So what had happened was, when I told dude that we were going to get some drugs,
mm-hmm.
There was a GPS that we had stole out of one of the cars. And I don't know what it is. You do things on Xanax that you just can't account for.
Yeah. Yeah. I made a video about that recently.
Yeah, I seen it. And I guess, I don't know, the only thing I can put together is that he wanted to bring the GPS to trade. I told him, I said, because we had speakers, man. We had We had all kinds of stuff, all kinds of electronics. I mean, everything. I said, dude, we got $3,500 cash.
Yeah, we don't need nothing.
We don't need nothing. Just leave everything here, you know. But I don't know. He brought that GPS. So they sent me to Cabot jail just for the misdemeanors. And I was about to bond out on that, you know. And I told my girl at the time, I said, hey, I know, you know, I'm on the jail phone. I'm like, look, I dropped some money over there by the tree underneath some leaves. I need you to go pick it up.
Dropped it underneath the leaves.
Yeah, thought I was asleep.
Go get my money
Still,
that fell out of my pocket underneath the rock, hidden behind the covert.
Yeah, yeah. And what's crazy is one of the cops is my girlfriend's mom's best friend. Mm. His name was Drew Cheatham. And she shows up on the scene to go get the money to bomb me out because I'm freaking out before these other charges kick in. And he sees her and he's like, go home.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing here. We found the money. Go home, you know. And what happened was when they still didn't know at that point. So what they were trying to do was find the owner of the truck. So when they finally got a hold of the owner of the truck, they went to the house that we were stealing and putting everything at.
Yeah.
So he answers the door. And
was it his house?
No. No, it was the girls that he was in the room with's house. He answers the door and he lets him in. And as soon as he lets him in, there's all kinds of stuff in the kitchen. They're like, well, what the hell is all this? You know, they couldn't really put it together then, but then they searched the truck and they found the GPS. There was the exact coordinates of the people who called the cops.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess their home address that was on it. So they kind of they put two and two together. Okay. These are the guys that have been stealing everything. So the misdemeanor charges, I woke up to, felony, breaking and entering, theft of property. And I was looking at my buddy because he had gotten injured. He had like 6 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, a punctured lung, and he had a fractured skull and had brain swelling. And I woke up to the paramedic saying, hey, you had the truck that was crushed like a Coke can, right? I was like, yeah. They said, well, dude might not make it. So you might be looking, you know, at another charge, a pretty hefty charge. And I was freaking out at that point, you know. So I woke up to all these felonies at 18 years old. A friend almost dead, and you know, it was crazy.
Wow. And, so what happened out of all that? Did you end up going to prison? Did you get found guilty of stuff? What came out of that night?
Ultimately, yeah, prison, but probation at first.
Yeah.
They gave me probation. I went to jail for a couple of days. Parents came bonding me out, and they put me on probation, and I just wasn't ready. I showed up and literally told the probation officer, I said, hey man, you might just go ahead, revoke me because I'm not coming back. You know, he was like, okay, we'll just get you a bondsman because you'll have a warrant in 2 weeks. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
See you then. You know, it took him a little while to catch up with me. But yeah, ultimately I went to, that's when I went to RPF first. I went to RPF in Little Rock.
Now, how long was you there?
There I was 9 months.
So your first bid, you go to Arkansas Community Corrections, you spend 9 months, you come home. How long are you out?
I was out until I got high again.
Until you went back to prison.
Until I went back to prison. So it was 2014 when I got out. I was out until I went back to prison in 2015. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you're using through all this?
No, actually, I just went back to county. I was just doing bids in county on 90 day PBs.
So what was the first time they sent you to the Arkansas Department of Corrections?
2016.
What'd you go there for?
There, let's see. That's one. They sent me over a Class C felony, illegal use of a communications device. Yeah.
What is that?
Selling drugs over the phone.
Selling dope through a phone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had pulled over a buddy of mine at the time, And I guess he was on probation, and they wanted to go through his phone. So we gave him the passcode to the phone, and they pulled up conversations of me. And it's crazy.
How much time they give you for that?
They gave me 3.5 years for that. Yeah, I was like, man, are you serious right now?
3.5 years for dope dealing because you were texting in the phone.
Yeah. And like all through the conversation, like dude sat me down in an interrogation room at first. It was like, bam, smacked down a whole packet of paperwork. And he's like, you know, I got you here, right? I was like, no, I don't. I said, I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, what am I even here for? And he smacked that down. And I looked at it, and it was all my Facebook messages, conversations between me and this dude. And I just looked at him. I was like, do you love what you do?
Wow.
I was like, do you like taking people from your family? I was playing the complete victim stance at that.
Yeah, clearly.
Like, yeah, they got me. So, I was just trying to make him feel like a piece of work.
Did it work?
Yeah, it did, actually. Because he gave me the option. He actually OR'd me.
Yeah.
He actually OR'd me upon the circumstances that I would go to rehab, and if that he wouldn't see me again. But I think like 30 days later, I was in jail.
Dang, so you left rehab?
No, I didn't even go to rehab.
Yeah,
I was just swindling, saying whatever I could to get my way at that point, just to go back out and get high.
Well, yawn then, excuse me. It's the sunlight in here. I told Ty the other day, every podcast we do, because this is the first time we ever did it on a couch, right? Like, I know that sounded really weird for people listening, so that's not what I meant. But first time we ever recorded using the couch instead of the podcast chairs in studio. And so it tends to make me get sleepy. Yeah. So what prison did they send you to?
The first one I hit a lick. They sent me to Esther Unit, Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
And I went with everybody out of Lone Oak. Went over down when I got there, went to 3 barracks. It's kind of upstairs. And then I filled out for a program because, as soon as you get there, they check off your boxes through mental health. Mm-hmm. And there's a good chance that you're going to go get stipulated a program when you hit the pro board. So I'm trying to, weasel my way into a program before they did that. So it would look good. But yeah, Esther Unit. Had really good food.
Yeah.
They took care of you on the food or whatever. And then they put me in a 1-man cell, and it was, the Hamptons of prison, basically.
Yeah.
1-man cell, sink, your own little table in there. You can go up, close the door, whatever,
Cell living.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the worst prison that you've been to?
The worst one was Varner.
Varner.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about Varner?
Yeah, Varner, so it was completely different than Esther Unit, And what's crazy is after I was released from Esther Unit, that was like March 28th of 2017.
Yeah.
I was back in county April 28th, 30 days later, and I was in Varner by November.
Wow.
Before the end of the year. So like I said, it was completely different. Really at Esther Unit, there was there was some deuce that was kind of floating around and a cigarette and a little bit of meth. But it was nothing like that at Varner. So when I pulled up at Varner, I'd heard stories, heard all these, legends and, what goes down at the V is what they say. And it was scary pulling up. I had heard somebody not too long ago, explain about the Varner experience and how they pulled up to the back, Sallyport with the big glass. Then when you pull up on the bus and you just don't know what to expect, and I was tripping at first, we get in there and, first thing we're in the hallway, we got to fill out the little paperwork that tells you what job skills you got and all that stuff. And I see a buddy over in the barracks, so that made me feel a little bit better. But when we finally got settled in, we had to wait on our rack because the hall porter brings it to you. We got our bedroll and they're like, hey man, there's no bed arrangements in here like there is in Esther Unit. Everything was sophisticated. It was, just done a lot better there. They were like, just find a place and pick a spot, when you get in there. And when we go in there, I was the last one to walk in with a new group of guys. And the guard, as soon as I walk in, man, it's just smoked out. I'm talking about completely smoked out. I smell weed. I smell everything under the sun. And I'm like, golly, I'm looking at the guard. I'm like, all right, is this really going on, you know? And I walked through the little doorway, and the guard's like, good luck. Closes the door.
Wow.
And I look back at him like, what?
What ran through your mind when the guard told you good luck as he shut the door?
I don't know. I was tripping on everything else, but yeah, I said, did he just really?
You knew right then.
Yeah,
you're in the freaking jungle.
Yeah, it's the jungle for sure. And it was 9 barracks in Varner. And what they do at Varner is they mix intake with class 4.
Oh wow, that's horrible. So tell the listeners what class 4 is.
So class 4, there's 4 classes of basically like sanctions or, you know, guides on behavior activity.
Status.
Status that you get to at class 4, you're doing day for day of your prison sentence.
It's punitive. Worst you can be.
One you can get to, and you have to do something to get there, of course. Usually class 4 comes with a sanction, 30 days or a year.
Yeah.
And it's the worst class to be at, basically. Anybody who's a troublemaker, anybody that's on some bull crap is class 4. Mm-hmm. And then,
so all the new people are mixed with the troublemakers.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Crazy. I mean, people are getting box checked on state, on state material. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're box checking intakes. You come in with your bedroll, like, dude, they don't even, they just came through diagnostics and you're box checking them. You know what I'm saying?
What is box checking me?
So box checking is people just walking up and checking what you got to take it from you. If you got anything good, they're going to snatch it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anything. I mean, really, I guess they were kind of looking for watches, rings, because some people are able to keep that when they go through diagnostics.
Yeah. So were they fighting in 9 barracks?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What's the wildest thing you saw at Varner?
The wildest thing I saw at Varner, a couple of wild things I seen when I first got there. Lock in a sock. It was a dude that had some braid. He had cornrows actually that were thick. They were probably about like an inch thick. And I don't know what was going on, but I was just sitting on my rack, and this dude named Chi-Town had hopped up and just started going off. And he pulled out from underneath his shirt and just started swinging it with accuracy too. And the dude that he was in an altercation with seemed like he could hold his own, can carry himself good. But as soon as he got hit with that lock, it's like it would split through his hair, his cornrows, it split him immediately, and he took off. He was like, I don't want no more. He took off,
Yeah.
After that, I mean, the wildest thing, to be honest with you, would be the sexual relations on the yard. That would be the wildest thing, but the fights.
What did you see with the sexual stuff?
So they got a soccer field on one side, and then they got the basketball court on the other side, and we're walking around the soccer field, and they're just dudes giving each other head out there. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Like straight, just out in the open.
Just wide open in front of the guards.
In front of everybody.
They just ain't even trying to hide it no more.
Not even trying to hide it.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. That was tripping.
Yeah. See, that's how prison was, now it's been 10 years since I've done a bid, right? And I'm fully pardoned now, but, I went to prison 6 times in Arkansas, and that's, I see these prison content creators and they talk about yada, 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 man, that doesn't happen. And I'm like, shit, happens all the time in Arkansas. I don't know what.
All the time.
Every prison I've ever been in, I've seen real killers fall in love with real boys. Mm-hmm. Like Pinocchio, I'm a real boy, and
real boys. Yeah.
Like they married, buying them shoes and everything. Yeah. I have seen, that I have seen a homosexual person get more heads split open in prison over physical attachment to that person than anything.
Yeah.
Cigarettes and boys will be the first 2 things that get your head split open in Arkansas.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's the funniest thing you ever saw?
The funniest thing, so there was this really good guy at tattoo. He was really fire tattoo artist. His name was Cornbread, and Deuce. So we were smoking deuce at first, and like we were sitting on my rack, and I didn't really know him that well. We had met each other a couple times, and when the deuce stick is going around, anybody's gonna flock to it or try to hit it, So we were sitting down on the rack, and we were smoking, and he's like, "Hey, bro, can I hit that with you?" I was like, "Yeah, cool. Take a seat, bro." So he hit it, and like everybody knows, like the worst thing to do is to hold it in, after you hit it, because the last thing you do is, when you hold your breath, you cut your mind off from oxygen, you know what I'm saying? And when you do that, who wants to hold their breath and then just replace that with deuce?
Me too, yeah.
So, I would hit it and blow it out real quick just so I wouldn't trip out or something. Well, he sat down and it gets to him, and he hits it and just holds it in like forever. I'm talking about. And then he just looks at me, and at this time I'm tripping out already, and and I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking in my head like, dude's about to, he's fixing to flop out, and he just looks at me. He goes, "I've died in here before." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I died in these barracks." I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm tripping." Yeah. It was crazy. I'm like, "You just keep it, bro. I'm just gonna catch my rack." And I want to say about 30 minutes later, he's in the back of the barracks, and everybody is kind of like, you hear the murmurs and stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, hey. And I look back, and it's him, and what he's doing is he's like doing the splits, and he's sliding down, but he can't stop himself. So when you get on like a deuce trip, there's a point to where somebody comes completely absent. They're just not there. Just you can't say nothing to them. Nothing is going to affect them. They're completely out of it. So he's like doing the splits, sliding down, standing up, and he just starts puking. And he's still just kind of looking in a dead stare, And as he's puking, he's still sliding down and ultimately doing the splits. And then he ends up in his puke on his belly, and he starts swimming in it. He starts swimming in it, and then just hops up, and on his keychain with his badge, he had like this little boxing glove on it. And like everybody's like, "Oh," and then all of his neighbors next to him were like, "All right, move him out of here. He's done." You know what I'm saying? Get him away from me. I don't care how good of a tattoo artist.
Yeah, you got to move.
Yeah, you got to go, bro. So they're trying to do that. And I guess he feels like he's been barded, and he hops up out of nowhere and turns that boxing glove into a nunchuck. He just starts. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, puke ninja." Oh my God. I was like, wow.
How big was the little boxing?
It was like this big, it's like a little boxing glove on it. He just started and puke just dripping off him. He's
oh my gosh.
Thinking that he's fixing to fight everybody, man. It was crazy.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's probably one of the funniest things that I've seen for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, wow. That is crazy.
Yeah, that'll forever be embedded in my mind,
Oh, I'm sure, man. So after 5 trips to prison, you come home. How do you end up finding recovery? What's that look like?
This time I've tried, 2 times before, and it was straight from a county setting. But this time, I knew of it. Michael Springer. Michael Springer. So when I got released from Grimes was the last unit that I was at. I went to Phoenix Recovery in Conway, and did my thing there. But while I was there, I was doing really good. And my younger brother Michael had ended up in jail, and we didn't want him to go back to prison either. So I reached out, and at that time they had with the PAC program. And he reached out to me also, and it's like, "Hey, bro, I know you're doing really good, and whatever you can do for me, bro, just please reach out to the prosecuting attorney, public defenders, or everybody in the PAC program. Heck, write a letter to the judge or something." That's what he was saying. So I told him I would do my best, and I reached out to Michael Springer. I knew Michael Springer from being in county with him, but I didn't know him. We just kind of brushed past a couple times. But I reached out to him and I, told him a little bit about myself and what I was trying to do. And I just, if he could advocate for my little brother to get in there. So that happened and I ended up getting high again. I fell off and Michael had ended up coming out here to your program. And when I fell off, he was, and what's crazy is like, at the time when I fell off, he was like, man, I can get you up here in Clarksville. And I'm like, bro, I'm straight.
I ain't coming to country of Clarksville.
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't, I just knew that he was clean or whatever. But really, I was kind of mad at him at the time because it was bullcrap that what I was mad about. And I can see clearly now and that I'm in the right state of mind. But he had distanced himself from me. He'd cut me off.
Yeah, for sure. That's what he's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. When he first got out, he came and got some clothes from me. He came and got some clothes from me, and I gave him probably like $500 worth of clothes and whatever else I gave him. And after that, it was just nothing, complete silence. And I was mad about it, I was like, hey, go on, man, and like, but it was just really me and my addiction trying to get anything and everything on him because I was seeing that he was doing good. I'm like, well, little bro can help me out, He wouldn't send me another $1 on cash. I was mad at him, but I didn't know anything about the program. I just would see posts and stuff like that. So
he's doing really good in his recovery.
Yeah, he's doing awesome.
He's got his own place now, and he's engaged to be married, and he's got a great job. He's a lead at his job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so you follow that example, right?
Yep.
And okay, so how did you? Because you got a year clean now. What does that look like?
Yeah. Looks like one day at a time.
For sure. For sure.
It looks like, JD said it the best that I've, could relate with the other day. Forever is something too much to fathom, and one day at a time, if I can just wake up today, then I'm doing awesome. Wake up clean, sober.
Yeah.
And,
what's your favorite part about living in recovery?
My favorite part is the unity and seeing the miracle, because like I've always, when I was growing up, before I've been able to have gain perspectives on different things and just kind of being able to change the lens that I look through, that like I've always expected a miracle to be something extravagant, like superhuman strength or, it's just something astronomical happening. But I've realized today that a miracle is literally just waking up today.
Yeah.
A miracle is being able to have a phone call with my family, being able to go to work, to being able to drive a car, to be able to use my extremities as well as I have through everything I've been through. I mean, just to breathe today. And every day those miracles come true by everybody waking up there. I mean, the unity that we have at the house, it's crazy how many people I could pick up the phone and they answer on the first or second ring.
Yeah. Everybody loves you too. That's what's crazy. Like, I saw a video where Jelly Roll said, I never saw a drug addict who didn't light the room up when they're sober. And you were like the epitome of that. I mean, everybody at the men's facility likes you. They literally look up to you. I've never heard, I hear a lot of the whispers about guys, but I've never heard anything about you that wasn't positive.
Right.
How does that feel?
It feels great. Does that feel like it feeds into my ego? I'm still trying to work on that,
Yeah.
On the people pleasing thing. I'm trying to be accepted, but
yeah,
I feel like if I just be me and this new version of me, then I can make it each and every day. Yeah, man. I just.
So, how many pair of shoes do you have, Carlos?
I don't know. This is like the umpteenth one. Probably I would want to say close to like 20. Yeah.
All in the box.
Yeah. Well, no, not all of them.
What?
Some of them are occasional wears, and some of them I've given away.
Would you say it's safe to say that you have a shoe fetish?
Yeah.
That's so. But you got money now. You ain't got to give it to the dope man. You ain't buying pills, so you're buying shoes.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Responsibilities are what, but someone once told me that if you look good, you feel good. So
yeah. So you got is there like a special somebody in your life now that you're sober or?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Her name is Kayla.
Okay.
Kayla Cox. She's in recovery also. Met her through Safe Haven program.
Okay. She was at Safe Haven, the women's program?
Yeah, she was doing outpatient though.
Okay.
Yeah, she wasn't in. She didn't go through the inpatient or anything like that. She actually came on her own accord, and which is really inspiring because her same drug of choice was mine also, opiates, fentanyl, and to be able to, really not have a structural environment, but to go on your own free will to those classes and stick it out and doing everything that you got to do on your own accord,
Now, how tall are you?
I'm actually like 5'8" 3/4. I like to say 5'9" though.
We'll call you 5'9". Right. How tall is Kayla?
She's 6 foot.
Wow. Just a little bit of difference there, bud. That's okay. So does she stoop down to give you a pick or do you tiptoe up? How's that work?
She has to stoop down.
That is hilarious. I love the humility. Thank you for your transparency.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. So now, though, a fun fact about you is all three of the Inocencio boys are in the same recovery program.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the exception of Michael, who's already graduated and moved into his own home.
Right.
But,
which,
he's still there every day. You gotta still get to see him. That's pretty cool. You got high hopes for your brother. You worried about him?
He's got, he's got our blood in him. So
he's got his own journey.
Yeah. He's got his own journey. I know that he can, has perseverance through anything that was, anything that's at hand. I know he's got a good work ethic. I know that he's got good principles. I got not expectations. I don't like putting expectations on things. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of play it by ear. But yeah, I think he's going to do really good.
So do you credit God for any of the life you have right now, this transition you're in?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if it wasn't for him, then I would not be here today. I wouldn't even be breathing today.
Yeah.
There's things that happened that it's just unexplainable. Science can't come up with a logical explanation.
Yeah, there's no physical data to explain what miracles that you've experienced.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. So for anybody watching or listening, what's one thing that you would want to leave them with?
One thing I would leave them with would be comparison. It would be to focus on what works for you, and not to really compare yourself to anybody else's recovery, because what works for you is literally what works for you, and what works for them isn't going to work for me. I mean, sometimes you can pull things out or certain aspects out of somebody's recovery, or, if it looks good and you say you want that, well, just be mindful that, what works for them isn't going to work for you. I mean, everybody's journey is different. And to build something that is yours is so much more replenishing in the end. And, I mean, even with me and my brothers, I'm saying, we all do our things differently. We all have our own accord that we operate on, and to stay, try not to end up in the hype with other guys, because not everybody, even though they're in recovery right now, the statistics show that everybody's not going to stay in recovery.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Man,
try not to, just to have discernment on who you hang out with. The relationship with God helps you build that, to be able to combat that and have an armor against, who you see in a person and how to, not judge, but just to treat people accordingly and go about things that you do.
That's good, man. Well, Carlos, I want to thank you for coming on the show, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to hear and learn more about you and all the stuff about your family and Wisconsin. And it's cool, man. So, thanks everybody for watching and listening. And please continue to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media places. And make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications on the podcast platform that you choose to listen from. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Like this video? Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a single content drop in the future, and keep up to date on all future episodes of From Prison to Purpose.